Hello, hello. Welcome to the podcast. It's your host with the most, Austin Morris. And I'm here once again with my good friend Ryan.
Hello, hello.
It's good to be back. Today, we're going to be talking about a really hot topic that falls under the political landscape, and it's something that has been a hot button issue. It's an ethic issue. That's why we're addressing it. And it's the issue of immigration, illegal immigration. I support legal immigration, of course. Yeah, we're just want to talk about illegal immigration situation that we have in our country. The border wall, which is, I'm sure all of you are familiar with.
Very hot topic right now.
Very.
Unless you work at Hot Topic.
And then, just like is our president, is he right for making this call? And with the issues that come with illegal immigration and the border wall, it comes down to an ethical issue which causes us as Christians to respond. So me and Ryan are both going to share our perspectives. I have a feeling we're going to probably disagree on some things with this one. But that's okay. So yeah, Ryan, what's your view? First off, let me pose a question. Wall or no wall?
Man, this is going on the internet. Takes back statement. Can I just not do this on the internet?
Take the Kermit the Frog stance and just sip your tea. It's none of my business.
None of my business. Let him do it. Man, I've gone back and forth a lot. So there's, possibly a chance I'll go back again. But where I am right now is pro-wall. And I think, and hear me out, there's just one, there's a few reasons, but primarily there's one reason. And I think his national emergency kind of pulled it out of nowhere too for me. It came along with, as we were thinking through a lot of that social justice stuff, I was kind of forming more of my thoughts around, what, as a Christian, where do I stand with social justice? And it seems like a lot of social justice warriors stay on the side of, we should do other things about illegal immigration, not a border, not a hard border, like the one Trump's proposing.
Right.
But I think in heart of social justice, that's why I am pro-border. And it's because there's at the least 10,000 women that are trafficked across the border every year, sex trafficking. And I was watching some videos the other day of places in the border where literally you can just step, right into Mexico and right back into America. There's no border patrol in that area, and there's just many areas like this. Literally, the border is just one of these giant. Looks like a giant, what do you call it? Jumping jack. Looks like just a giant jumping jack's in there. You can walk past it easily. By the time you'd ever get reported, if there is any kind of type of technology out there to report it, it'd be too late. Just to be honest. And also seeing that it was like 98% of people working on border security voted to have a physical border wall. These are the people that work it. They know the ins and outs of it. I'm in North Carolina. I'm nowhere near the border. I'm not affected barely at all. I know a lot of my friends are, but a lot of my friends' families did break the law, the law of the land that they chose to now live in, and essentially, and those things alone. So those kind of families, I'm not as concerned about. I'm not mad that your mom's here because she crossed the border illegally. Not your mom. I know your mom's not. I'm saying, anyone that listening to this, has parents that are illegal immigrants. I'm not upset with them. They're not what I'm saying is the problem. What I'm saying is that there are people that are not like your parents that are trafficking women across the border, and no one's detecting it. Families in America don't know where their children went. And even to say the other way, families in Mexico don't know where their children went. I'm sure it's the other way around. I'm sure women are getting trafficked in here. I'm not going to say that sex slavery is not in America. We know there's plenty of areas where it's the most trafficked, and in all these major airports. And they caught some couple the other week and trafficked, and that's who I'm concerned for. That's 10,000 women, and that's just the ones that we could somewhat estimate and know about. That's not counting everyone that's going under even statistical radars. I want justice for them. But again, I'm not the president. I know that he stated that. I don't know if that's his only reason for it. I know, that a physical border would make things more difficult for traffickers, but I know that they also, in places that there has been, they've just dug tunnels under it. They figured other ways around. But, our job is not to just expect people to get around issues. I believe our job and our hope as citizens is to make it harder for them to do that. And honestly think that a physical border could narrow it down from 10,000 to 500. That would, if we could save 9,500 lives, it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
If we could save one life, that border wall would be worth it. And I know a lot of Americans want to argue that and say the greater good. But the thing is, between that, and that argument usually comes up when concerning war issues. These women are not soldiers. These women did not sign up to risk being trafficked just by existing. There was no contract on their birth certificate that said, what, if I get trafficked, it's for my country. That's not a thing. In America, we treat every person with dignity, and value, and respect. And if that wall could save one life, I think it's worth it. And that's where I stand with it. I don't know how better to say it for myself right now.
I think you said it pretty well. Here's some statistics on legal immigration. Before I.
And if I said wrong on the statistic, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. That's what I last saw, but I may be wrong.
Here are some statistics that I found on Statista.com if you care to fact check. In 2016, the illegal immigration population in America was 10.7 million. Unaccompanied alien children apprehensions at the border as of 2017 is 41,156. The lower estimated cost of deportation of illegal immigrants is $103.9 billion. That's as of 2015. Upper cost is $303.7 billion as of 2015. Estimated tax paid by illegals, $7 billion. Property tax paid, $3.6 billion. So, those are some
crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I was saying. And I would agree. I think everybody in their right mind would agree that illegal immigration is a problem for our nation.
Mm.
I don't believe in open borders, but I don't necessarily believe the wall is going to fix everything. I would even say that you would agree that it wouldn't fix every single problem. For me, it feels like more of a Band-Aid on a much bigger wound.
Mm.
I feel like immigration reform is something that this country is in desperate need of, because there's people out there that are waiting. They're on a waiting list for like 15 years just to get their visa to come here legally. Mm-hmm. That's stupid.
And it takes forever to become a citizen, which is somewhat admirable because it shows that, wow, you're serious about being here. And I think if you're going to live in America, you do need to. We want your culture, we want your race, we want your families. We want you.
Mm-hmm.
But America has certain values, and kind of like the ones we just spoke of, that its citizens must hold to.
Yeah.
And I think we definitely want to test that, but I think we're testing it wrong. And like you were saying, I don't know, it just takes forever to even get in legally, and then to become a citizen legally. There's got to be something.
It's a wicked problem. It really is, because the upward cost of deporting is over $300 billion.
Mm.
That's a lot of money used to deporting illegal immigrants. And I mean, like I said, I'm not for open borders, but I'm kind of on the fence about how I feel about the wall. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't know. I think the main issue I'm having is the person that suggested it.
Mm-hmm. That's been a big. I think that's been a big stumbling block for a lot of people, because
it wasn't suggested in the most tactful of ways.
Yeah.
And although I respect our president and I respect his office, I respect the position that he holds, that doesn't mean I have to agree. It doesn't mean I have to agree with every word that comes out of his mouth and everything he does. But that's kind of where I'm at. I just, if it would have been proposed a little better, and he didn't declare a national state of emergency, that's where I'm kind of hung up at, because that feels borderline dictatorship-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Declaring a national emergency.
Pass a policy.
Yes. But this is not a war. This is not a nuclear holocaust. This is an issue that it needs to be addressed. So yeah, I would say for me, it's like, if it works, great. If it works, I'm okay. I'm having a hard time with it.
Yeah. You'd rather have more of a conversational approach to bringing it about.
Yeah.
I don't know if he quite did have or at least attempt to have a conversational. I mean, I know he proposed things, you know what I mean? But but then again, dude, I'm not the president. I don't know what goes on in the White House. But, I mean, this dude might have been advocating for 2 years and now it's happening. But he's been in that longer, right? Like 26? Yeah, he's been in a while. Man, that's crazy. I can't believe Trump's been in this long. I think that was my biggest concern now. And I think where I've landed on that, because I did see it. I mean, the immediate response was like, oh, great, there goes democracy. It's like, we're supposed to be able to vote on these things, and or at least have, our delegates, be able to represent us well, and kind of have that, which in kind of they did, and I'll get to that in just a second. So, one, I feel like maybe it's a national emergency, but and so kind of I guess for me, and I'm not trying to just be subjective here, but sometimes politics has to be subjectively interpreted among objective facts.
Right.
And the objective fact, 10,000, I'm going to fact check this real quick. How many women are being trafficked across the southern border?
Because no one cares about the northern border.
Right. Which it very well could. Well, I'll find it later and then I'll have to fact check it. U.S. Justice Department. Okay, yeah, so
Bigger numbers than you
bigger
thought.
numbers, like 5 times as much. So I was shooting low. I guess even to that point, even if it's only 10,000, which it seems to be more.
I mean, there's more issues than just. I mean, obviously, of course, human trafficking is a big issue, but you also
Right.
have drugs being trafficked over. You have illegal weapons trafficked over, and then there's also the high crime rate in areas like California, Arizona, that they're dealing with high criminal rates from illegal immigrants. So
Yeah.
it's an issue.
In a way, I see it as in an odd attack of terrorism. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it doesn't seem that way because it's not hitting the masses, but it's still hitting thousands of people and bringing them into terror by literally injecting into their lives, removing them from their homes, transporting them to foreign countries, selling them off and making profit, and then they are being abused and used daily for the rest of their lives. And for me, and that's happening to my people, my nation, the people that I love, and I love everyone around the world that I can, but that and the national kind of love for your people, that's happening, and that's just, and for me that seems like an emergency. I think we may have, because I think there's two different sides of that issue. Like I've talked more about the trafficking, just social justice side of it, and then I think there's another side of it that's not a national emergency, like illegal immigration. So that in the sense of someone's moving here because they want a better life, but they can't do it legally because it takes forever. So they come illegally and they make a better life, and one day it works out.
Right.
And then that's not a national emergency to me. I really am not bothered by that. I have a lot of illegal immigrant friends that contribute well to our society. I know there's a lot of Republican tax debate, like, hey, we're paying for a lot they're not paying for that they're supposed to be. But like I said, I don't consider it a national emergency. The trafficking, which is due to a border issue, is a big thing for me. And so moving on into that, so I know a lot of my liberal friends on the other side, so I'm getting critiqued by both sides right now. I know a lot of my liberal friends jump in and is like, well, if you do that, then you're going to have to jump in on like school shootings, and you're going to have to jump in on gun control and all this stuff, and maybe that's right, but I do want to look up something. Let's see. So we're just looking at some facts about school shooting. So this is not deaths. This is not traffic, but this is affected. This means that at least people that are in these schools, in some way, 187,000 students have been exposed to gun violence at school since Columbine. But among those, see, the question I was trying to Google is how many deaths, because when these people are shipped out of their country to trafficking, you're dead. I mean, you're practically dead. You've lost any, not intrinsically, but in the sense of how people view you, you've lost value and you've lost dignity. And here we go. We found it. Okay, so only 113 people in 2018 were killed or injured in a school shooting. And I'm not trying to demean these things at all, these events at all, but to me, which we actually saw was, tens of thousands of people losing their lives to trafficking versus only 113 people in entire America that's been physically affected by a school shooting is just, to me, that's not a national emergency. For me, it's a local emergency. It's an issue that we should be dealing with by law enforcement. And we saw that with the parking shooting. Law enforcement didn't do their job. And I don't care.
That was shameful.
I will say it right now, that sheriff sucks. And he should have been fired. And
that was just shameful what happened.
Yeah. And the whole event was completely shameful, but then the response by the leaders. I mean, and then that dude would dare get on the internet and dare get on television and act like he was a hero. Not at all. It's a local issue. We need to get rid of scumbags like that, and I hate to say that on a public podcast, but I'm not messing, dude. Like, people like him do not need to be on the force because they don't care about protecting others. That dude was crying in a corner while children were literally being killed. So that's a local issue. That dude is not my national concern. My concern is that people like him don't get local law enforcement, and if they do, they get scared off. And yeah, so I mean, I think there's a lot of politics that come into this, and this is just my particular opinion. Yeah. And I might get roasted in the comments, and that's fine. Guys, like I can take differing opinions. I mean, like I didn't come to this conclusion by not listening to them.
Right.
And I'm getting critiqued by both sides, and I will critique both sides too. And I love. This is all out of love. This is not out of hate for anyone, not for immigrants, not for school shooters, not for fake news, not for anything. This is just my stance out of love. But anyways, sorry. I didn't mean to take all that time.
No, dude, it's okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm definitely, not for having no borders, but I think I would be more for a border if the person instilling the idea went about it better. That's kind of where I'm at. Kind of shifting gears, but still in the realm of immigration.
I love how you still talk with your hands even when we're not on camera.
I know, it's just a habit. It's just a habit.
Anyway, let's keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Trump's travel ban. What are your thoughts
on the temporary one that he put right when he came in?
I think it's still in place, isn't it?
I knew he had a temporary one. I think it's still in place for particular countries, but definitely not the amount that he started with. Let's go and take a fact check because I don't want to talk about something that's not completely accurate. That is saying that I may be quoting wrong because I may. You may be completely right now.
That's totally how you spell travel.
Oh yeah, what am I doing? Okay, here we go. We'll go and pull up a timelines 2017.
They had a different version of it.
Okay.
They had a revision.
Okay, so they pretty much dismantled it on Tuesday, June 26th. In the 5-4 ruling. So the deciding party.
They upheld it.
They did? Oh, I misread it? Okay.
They upheld it. So what's the...
So what is 3.0?
Go up again. Okay, there's the lawsuit up here. The guy that sued him. So apparently it's still in place.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, so I do want to follow that more because I feel like they would have had to lift it on some countries.
Yeah.
But because I feel like we'd still be hearing some racket about it, if not.
So with the travel ban, there comes the issue for the Christian, which is much different than I feel the issue with the border wall.
Yeah.
The issue with the travel ban is, do we let people from nations that have been labeled terrorist nations, or do we then allowing refugees to come over? Do we allow that? The Christian, there's the ethical response to that of, these are people, this opportunity for gospel conversations. But as the American, there's the danger of possibly, one of them committing a terrorist act on our nation. So it's this question of, what do we do with that?
I haven't thought about this so long, primarily because I thought it was completely out of place. I remember thinking when it first happened, this is a terrible idea. But do you remember anything that warranted it? Initially, like why he even did that? Because I think that will kind of throw my opinion one way or the other. While you're looking that up, I do remember looking at that as a Christian and was like, literally, for those that can't go to the nations, the nation comes to us. And living in the Raleigh area, we see that very much so. People travel here all the time from other countries and other areas, and we get to have a lot of interaction with those we wouldn't normally get to. People are hearing the gospel, and from when they lived in countries they wouldn't be able to. They're gaining, at least temporarily, gaining freedoms that they would have never had in other countries. Getting to experience America, and maybe even thinking, man, I want to pursue the American dream, or I would love to be an American. And starting the immigration process, starting the becoming a citizen later down the road, which are what we're supposed to want, at least. What I want. I want people to come to our lovely country. I mean, we have people complain about overpopulation, and it's like, I've been to Wyoming, all right. I've been to Montana. I've been to Utah. There are people out there, dude. Like, there's plenty of room. Honestly, we have so much room. Not gonna lie,
but it's a crowded planet.
It's a crowded planet. Spread them out. Spread them out. I mean,
spread them like mayonnaise.
Seriously, like, I want people to come here. I want people to see America. I want people to love America. And I sound like a politician. This is fantastic.
You should run for office.
Let's go. I love America, and I want people to love America, and I want people to live here, and I want you to be able to go next door and go to the nations at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I haven't found the reason behind the ban, but I found out what the ban actually does. This 3.0 ban. It indefinitely suspends the issuance of immigrant and non-immigrant visas to applicants from the Muslim-majority countries, Libya, Iran, Somalia, Syria, Yemen, plus North Korea and Venezuela. The number of people who fall under the ban exceed 135 million. The majority are in the 5 Muslim-majority nations, led by Iran with a population of more than 80 million. So a lot of people are affected. Still trying to find what the start of the ban was what started it. It started actually back in when he was running for president. He called for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country can figure out what's going on.
With immigration issues?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think like deeper security checks and whatnot. And, I don't know, man. If it was, what I'm bothered by is it's still there.
Yeah.
Because I was told, and I believed it was temporary. And like you just saw a few minutes ago, I didn't think this was still here.
Yeah. But the Supreme Court ruled it okay.
Yeah. Well, I miss that part of the wall too, dude. Like there are certain branches of our government that we voted in and trusted to represent us, and when they decide certain things alongside with the president, that we somewhat have to respect that. Just like with the wall, they had a chance to veto, but they didn't have nowhere near the votes that they were supposed to have. And so that means enough people that represent us believed in whatever Trump proposed, and we voted them into office just like we voted him into office. And that's how our government works. That's that's the republic we live in. But
I get Trump's point of view. Trump has been from the get-go America first.
Yeah.
Take care of our people before we start letting other people come in. And I understand that point of view.
Right.
I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, it's
hard to have a Great Commission understanding of immigration and still believe America first.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be a Christian and American some days too.
It is.
Like I said, I love being American.
Yeah. As do I. I'm proud to be an American. I'm thankful for the freedoms that God has allowed us to have here. But it saddens me to see. It saddens me that Christians have to compromise in elections. And it saddens me that it feels like we have to vote for the lesser of two evils. That's how it felt this past election. It felt like voting, Hillary and Trump. It's not, neither of them are the greatest of candidates to vote for. But
never mind, keep going.
But with the ban on, go ahead.
I will say I don't want people thinking I'm anti-Trump here either, though, because he has done some great things like defunding Planned Parenthood. That's something conservatives, especially, and I believe Bible-believing Christians, have been asking for years. And politicians have been promising for years, and nothing has been done. And the dude stepped in and did it, and that's a boss move.
Yeah.
And if anyone was, I guess, dudes out here just calling national emergencies like it's his home phone, like, go get them, dude. Like, I tweeted that, like, that's the president I can be proud of. Like, I'm thankful for that, because that shouldn't be a bipartisan issue. That should be a humanity issue. Like, this, human lives.
Yeah.
It is a potential consciousness that you're terminating. And, anyways, sorry, back to the wall. Or back to the board.
No. That's
I just didn't want to get thrown off that I was anti-president.
I mean,
because he has done some great things.
I'm not the biggest fan of Trump. I don't think as a true Christian you can be a huge fan of him. But I agree with what you're saying. There are some things that he has done that have been really good for our country, such as defunding Planned Parenthood. Economy is through the roof. I'm getting more of my paychecks than I've ever gotten.
I'm ready for this tax return.
Yeah, but yeah, with the travel ban, it just really saddened me. And
well, it's sad that that's the first act of a president.
Yeah, not off to a good start. And I didn't appreciate being thrown into a position of, well, I'm a Christian, and I don't want to see like people being separated from their families. I want people to have the opportunity to come here. I want people to have the opportunity to experience our culture, and it's God has blessed this nation in more ways than we could imagine. Like, He blesses us with the ability of having people from other nations come here, and that gives us an opportunity to share the gospel with them, to invite them into our culture, and to be Jesus to them. What opportunity,
Yeah.
And I feel like the travel ban kind of negates that. And kind of makes it hard to do. Because every Muslim is not a terrorist.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
mean, I've been to Turkey where the Muslim population is like 98%, and I didn't experience anything that was terrible. I loved it there, to be honest. One of the best times of my life.
The Muslims that
I go back in a heartbeat.
The Muslims that I've met, like, they are really sweet people. It's just the few radical Muslims that stick true to the word of the Quran, who are the bad eggs that we see. My girlfriend has had plenty of experience witnessing to Muslims, and she'll tell you first, like, Muslims are some of the sweetest people. They'll invite you to their homes, they'll feed you, they'll take care of you, but they're the most ostracized in our culture right now. And I feel so bad for what happened in New Zealand.
Yeah.
That absolutely
terrible.
Just destroyed. It really ripped my heart to pieces. And so that's what it just calls for Christians to be like, hey, we don't agree with what you believe, but we still love you.
Yeah.
And all that to say, like, we're called to love our neighbor. We're called to love others as Christ has loved us. And I don't feel like the travel ban is, if we're going on social justice, I don't think that's a good practice of it.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
I see they're trying to prevent terrorist attacks, but it's like you're trying to prevent something that hasn't happened.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and reference a good book for this. Kind of leads on this discussion, but it handles a lot of other things too. Kind of dealing with Islamic worldview, how as Americans we should understand religion, how they should exist in a secular environment. And that's between, it's a book by Sam Harris. It's on Islam. Yeah, it's basically about tolerance. And but he also gives really good critiques because, he pulled, Sam is Sam Harris is an atheist, and he does definitely critique Christianity just as much as he critiques Islam, but he does a good job of kind of pulling out their blind spots, but also making sure like he's having discussions with liberal Islams where their theology tends to be liberal, and kind of how that leads their life and where do they think their community is at. Do they think that the majority of Muslims agree with them, or do they not? Can't kind of. But on the other hand, so if you want to read two sides of the spectrum, I guess, so that's more of a tolerant conversation that sees the realities and is able to discuss them. I can't say the doctor's name that he co-writes the book with, because really the book is just a conversation. It's a long conversation. But I read the book in 6 hours. Like, that's how good it was, how rich. It's only about 200 pages, maybe. But to see the other side, there's a evangelical missionary, Michael Youssef, and he's grew up in a Muslim nation, was Muslim, became a Christian, moved to America, and now he does evangelism with Muslims. And he wrote a book that I just was given by a family member. It's called The Third Jihad, and he kind of talks about how they're in. I'm pretty sure Trump quoted it once recently, but that it kind of walks through that what Muslims' real plan is on taking over America and what America's going to look like in 20 years. So, and it has solid material. I'm not going to lie. Like, he's not ignorant at all. This dude's he's got a PhD. He's been doing ministry with Muslims for like 60 years, right. And has wrote many books, read many commentaries. I met the guy. He's amazing. And I have family members that are really close with him just because they were supporting his ministry years before this book ever even came out. Because that's the thing, he does believe in ministering to Muslims, but he also sees realities that he thinks might lead to America, because he's seen it happen in the UK. We've seen it happen in the UK, where many Muslims did move into the area, and I think that's what scared Trump, because it was happening right at that time. That's when it primarily was being shown that Muslims were moving into the UK and kind of taking over.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I just wanted to provide y'all with kind of double resource there, so you can read both sides and make your own decision.
On that note, I mean, when you look at Islam as a religion as a whole, historically, it's a powerful religion.
Its spread was way faster than Christianity.
So I remember I took a church history class with Dr. Spencer, and he showed us like a time frame of like how fast world religions spread, and like you have like Buddhism like spreading over here in China, and you have like Hinduism spreading over here. It's just like little spreads,
right?
And it shows like Christianity starting out in the Middle East, or Judaism, and Islam starts up, and it just explodes over the map.
Everywhere.
It was literally like I don't want to compare Islam to the Black Plague, but essentially I'm saying it spread that fast.
Right.
Like, it was contagious. And, of course, it was, if you look at historical Islam, the methods they used were very persuasive, because they essentially gave you three choices. You could accept Islam, you can die, or pay extremely high tax for not converting. And so, very persuasive, so Islam spread like wildfire. And
we saw ISIS kind of exploding in 2015.
Yeah.
Trump got in 2016. They were beheading people. That's freaking scary.
Yeah, that's our report. And I'll never forget what Dr. Spencer said. He said that once Islam gets its foot in the door, you cannot get it out. When you look at Spain, it took Spain 700 years to get Islam out of their nation.
Yeah. Well, just to be a secular nation again. Ditto for Turkey. I mean, Turkey is now finally back to being a secular nation, but still 98% population with a religious affiliation. You know? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to it, man.
Yeah, there really is. And that might have to be a podcast we save for another day, just talking about Islam and the history of it and, possible outlooks and how it affects us as Christians. But
no doubt.
Yeah, I feel like that was a good conversation about the travel ban and about how we should combat from an ethical perspective. I would say, I know that I've been kind of been on the fence. I would say as leader aside, I'm for a border. For some sort of border protection in the form of a wall.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we need something to slow down the trafficking and the drug trafficking, and we need for it to be easy to become a legal citizen and hard to become an illegal in our nation. And that's what we need to strive for as Christians. That's what we should be praying for in our nation, is for that immigration reform to come, because that's what we need. We need immigration reform. And obviously, I think this is a good time to bring up, we should pray for our leaders. And we should pray.
Yep.
I know it's hard sometimes.
Yeah. It's scripture commanded, though.
We have been commanded by God to pray for our leaders because He has allowed them to come into that power. And so we should respect our Creator in that aspect and pray for their salvation, pray for their souls. And I encourage you, our listeners, I know it's hard sometimes. I know it's hard when you see Trump acting a fool on Twitter to think to stop him and pray for him. But yeah, pray for your local representatives, pray for your congressman, pray for our president, pray for your governor, pray for whoever. If you're from overseas, pray for your leaders of your nation.
Pray for leaders of other nations.
Yes, of course. I mean, look what prayer did with North Korea. Like,
yep,
we've been praying for that to happen for years.
Yep,
for open borders, and we're just now starting to get to that point.
Well, and there's actually a church that's like blowing up underground there, like big time, like growing like wildfire.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And look what happened in China. Like China, I did some fact research, and I think it said by 2030, China will overtake the USA with most Christians. And that's
starting underground churches, man.
That's unbelievable.
God works greatest through times of persecution and trouble and doubt.
Yeah, I mean, history shows itself. I mean, you look at the Roman Church when they were being heavily persecuted and blamed for things that they didn't commit. You would think that under persecution, the numbers of people becoming Christians would decline, but instead they just exploded.
Yeah,
which is so crazy. And I wonder if it's because people see the corruption and they see the holiness of God, and they're like, "Wow, this is something different. This is something that is." I don't know. I don't know how. Part of me would love to live in a persecuted nation, because I feel like here in America, as Christians, we're the most blessed nation, but we have the weakest Christians.
Yeah,
we consider somebody talking bad about us, or we consider somebody who disagrees with our point of view, we consider them persecuting us when we have brothers and sisters overseas who are having rocks tied to their ankles and being thrown into a river to drown.
Yes.
And they're being whipped and going through all sorts of brutal torture, and we're upset because somebody didn't like what we had to say. And it's just it's frustrating as a Christian to see that.
Yeah, the USA knows nothing of persecution when it comes to Christianity. At least not yet.
Yeah,
Nothing of it. Being bullied in high school, I mean, it's persecution, but it's not. It's nowhere near the depth, or people disagreeing with you on Facebook, man. Unfriend them. Or suck it up.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that much to move on with your life and do something instead of slamming people on Facebook back and forth.
But
come on, man. Y'all are in your 40s, grow up.
Play Candy Crush or something. I encourage you guys to support Voice of the Martyrs.
Fantastic newsletter.
I encourage you guys to support them. I know I've given money to them in the past, and just what they do for the persecuted church by sending Bibles, sending letters of support and encouragement to pastors and missionaries who are in prison, providing a way for people to pray for them. It's just a really, really phenomenal organization. Also, if you want to see what Christians in the past have gone through, I encourage you to read Fox's Book of Martyrs. It will break you.
Or any books by Nick Ripken.
Yeah. Nick Ripken is a fantastic author. He wrote Insanity of God and The Insanity of Obedience. Both phenomenal books talking about what it's like to serve in a persecuted nation.
I spent 2 whole weeks with that man. Excellent time. Learned so much. I was so broken too. But also strengthened.
Yeah, guys, that's all we have for today. I leave you guys with the charge to pray for your leaders, pray for those who are affected by the persecution of unrighteous nations. Also, just pray for Americans. Pray if you truly care about this nation, you'll pray for it. And you'll pray for the right changes to be made, and ultimately pray for God's will to be done.
Just like we said in previous episode, just because America has some things wrong doesn't mean that it's not doing a lot right, and that it's not a good thing itself. Just like social justice, just like church, don't throw it out. Help fix it. Love it. If
you truly love this nation, you'll do everything in your power to make it a better place.
Make sure to take care of yourself. Like Jordan Peterson says, when you take care of yourself, you get your world, your small little world right, then you'll be able to change the world. Don't change the world for you. Don't fix yourself.
That's very true. It's very true. Well, hey guys, thank you guys for listening. Me and Ryan both appreciate the audience. We appreciate your views. Please drop a like. Please subscribe. We would love to have you a part of the Crimson Acre Ministry family. We'll see you guys next time. You'll have a good one.